Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here with a very special video because I'm going to share my experience on how did I learn tools in DevOps or how did I learn the programming part, Python, Go language, and I'm also going to share my experience on freelancing and the open source opportunities that I got and how do we actually get these opportunities. So this is going to be really interesting one because many of these opportunities I created myself. So if you watch the video, probably you will also get some insights on, okay, so this is how I can learn Python, or this is how I can get into open source. This is how I can get into freelancing. Yeah, so I'll start sharing all the things. So right from first to till date, what are the different things I've done to learn all of these tools. Okay, so I don't want to keep it very time lengthy. So let me start it really quick. Perfect. So to start with, firstly, I started back in 2014, 2014, and I started as a Java developer because I was trained in Java back in college. And when I started with TCS, they hired me for Java development role. And I was again trained in TCS as a Java backend developer. Then when I got into a project in TCS, of course, like most of the service based companies, most of the times you don't get to add a lot of features, and it was more or less maintenance activities that were going on. But I was not happy, so I thought like, okay, I'm not going to do much of these things. So what I did was I started to search around what are the different projects that are going around me inside the same project that we were doing. Like there is an organization, we were supporting a client, and there were multiple teams, and I belong to a team where we were doing very minimalistic Java backend changes. So the changes were more or less with respect to the form.xmls. We were modifying, we were writing like, modifications to the jar files, which was very, very simple. So yeah, so I realized that one of the teams, what they were doing is they were actually migrating the applications to IBM Cloud. So back then, IBM was one of the vendors for our client, and IBM somehow managed to, back in 2014, they have managed to say the client that, okay, move to the IBM Cloud, and it will be very beneficial. And they were using the urban code deploy, udeploy, to deploy these applications. So I thought, okay, why can't I just give it a try? But of course, my manager was not very interested in my switch to that particular team. So what I said is, okay, I'll try to concentrate on both the teams. And out of office hours, what I used to do is I started reading the documents, understanding, because back in 2014, cloud migration was not at all easy because more or less most of the applications were in the monolithic architecture, and everybody was new to cloud in 2014. People just started their footprints, or people just started their baby walks on AWS cloud. But IBM cloud is even more difficult because many people did not have knowledge. There were not many resources. So we failed a lot of times getting onto the IBM cloud with one. The first application itself was very difficult. So this is when I started learning about cloud migration, IBM cloud. I started with IBM cloud, and the important thing is also started learning about Linux because till my college I did not have experience with Linux. I was only using Windows, and when we started this cloud migration, so Linux came into the picture, and I started understanding a lot about Linux because when we started doing monolithic to microservice architecture and deploying applications one after one onto the cloud, more or less the things were there was a lot of toil. So toil is basically same repetitive task that we were doing to put the application onto the cloud. So breaking the application into microservices, playing around in the cloud was okay, that was very challenging. But a little part where we put these steps into the cloud, so we used to do a lot of Linux and shell scripting, basic shell commands. So I started automating these things, and there I started learning about Linux and shell scripting. So this is when I got my exposure towards IBM Cloud, which is a cloud platform, then shell scripting, then Linux. So this was the journey, and of course, because I was a developer and I was writing these applications, migrating them into monolithic architecture, definitely I'll have experience towards Git, right? Because we started with Subversion, SVN, and then we moved to Git. So I have very good understanding till then with Git, Linux, shell scripting, and IBM Cloud. So this is my journey till now. That is till 2016. So these were the only DevOps tools that I was aware of. Then what I did was I started exploring something called as Ansible. So yes, in 2016 I started exploring Ansible. The reason for that was uh, you know there were a lot of applications, and you know what Ansible is popular for, right? So Ansible does configuration management, and because we were dealing with this hundreds of microservices, and because we were dealing with cloud platform, so I saw a scope of Ansible, and Ansible was very new till then. In 2016, Ansible did not have all the modules that we have today. So I started with Ansible then, and this was my profile till 2016. Ansible, Linux, Git, Java, because the programming language that I know, and then the other thing was cloud, because I did basic cloud migration, or you can say that sufficient cloud migration. That was on IBM Cloud, and there were no migration services then, right? Everything has to be done manually. So with this experience, I thought, okay, I was getting too comfortable because we did one batch of application migration, then we did the second batch, and the other team that I was initially with, they also don't have work. So I thought, okay, now it's getting too comfortable, and I've also been to Europe, then led the project for 4 months, came back, and then I decided that okay, I'll switch. I'll move to a product-based company. Okay, I've worked with service-based company for 2.5 years. Now it's time for me to switch to product-based company. And then I did something that I will not definitely not recommend anyone. So TCS had 3 months of notice period. So it was very difficult when you have 3 months of notice period to convince your manager, and also to convince HRs and the recruiting people. So I said, firstly, I'll put the papers. I'll not recommend anybody to do this, but I've done that. Uh, put the papers, and then I said that okay, I've resigned the company and I'm ready to join as soon as the manager gives the go to, or the sign off, saying that okay, I will relieve you, because I've already resigned, right? So it was easy for my manager to just say that okay, if you get opportunity you can go, because anyways you are in the notice period. So then what I did was I started applying. Then my goal was to just get into product based company, because I've seen enough of service based company for 2.5 years. Then I got into a product based company called Modelin, that's in Hyderabad. And here I went with the same profile, like Ansible, Git, then the Linux, shell scripting, and of course some idea on the cloud migration. So using these things, I tried to switch, and yes, I got into a product based company. There, what we were doing is we were using a lot of Ansible. So I used Ansible for almost 6 months every day. So, and back then there were not lot of modules. So from the beginning days of Ansible, I've seen the progression of Ansible, and I've worked a lot with Ansible. So I said that okay, I got very good experience with Ansible. And then the Java programming language that I had experience with, I was not at all using it. And people started a lot about Python in 2016. Machine learning, everybody was using Python. Then data analytics, everybody was using Python. DevOps, everybody was using Python. So I thought, okay, what is this Python, and why is this getting so popular? I started learning it, but I don't have opportunity, right? Because in the current project, I was recruited for Ansible, Git, and all of these things, and Python was not at all used. So there, and this is something that I would tell everybody, how to create opportunity. So what I've done is, then in 2016, during the time of IPL, that is a cricket league, what I've done is I've written a application in Python, and I said that okay, so we used to have fun to Fridays and all of these things, right? So I approached the HR team and I said, okay, anyways, you people are planning something for the IPL, like fun time or something. So I wrote an application, and I'll deploy this application on one of our servers, that's cloud servers. And everybody can play this application. It was a very simple application. People used to have a login page, and once they log in, they can select what is today's match. If there is one match, it will pop up as one match. If there are two matches, it will show two matches, and people can select. And if their prediction is right, they'll get some points. Okay, and then there is a leaderboard which says that okay, how was your prediction, who is in the first place, who is in the second place, what are your total number of points. So this is it. So this was the application, and it was a very simple application, of course. And even the front end, I did not have a lot of knowledge, so I did it with just basic Bootstrap, CSS, and HTML5. But while doing this, initially I thought there will be some 20 or 30 people that will be playing this, but at one point there were 600 people who are playing this concurrently within the organization, because HR has forwarded this. And I did not have knowledge of handling 600 concurrent requests, because I was a newbie with Python. Then I sat for over the weekend I sat and I understood. I wrote this application in Django, so I understood how to handle Django middleware, how to do this. I learned a lot of Django related stuff with this specific application. So this is how I created opportunity. And after that I became very strong in Python, because that was a very simple application, but there were real time users, right? And this opportunity I've created by myself, and using this exposure. Okay, so I just stayed in that product based company for 1.5 year, and using this application, I gained a lot of interest in Python after this. And using this experience, I thought that okay, I'll switch to Python plus whatever I have experience with DevOps. So till now, the experience that I had with DevOps was Ansible, Git, and then I had experience with shell scripting, Linux, right, and Python. So these were the only things that I was aware till 2016. So then, I again started searching for opportunities. I got one opportunity, then I resigned that company. While I was in the notice period, I had very good experience with Python. I was giving interviews on Python, but 2016 Kubernetes was on, it was on everybody started saying that okay, there is a new tool called Kubernetes, and Kubernetes is awesome. And back then there was not a lot of materials on Kubernetes in 2016. So I still remember there were some YouTube videos by Janaki Ram. Janaki Ram is a very popular influencer on LinkedIn and YouTube. So I started watching his videos, and I started learning Kubernetes from YouTube itself. Okay, so I was just reading the Kubernetes material, and I was just reading I was just watching his videos on YouTube, and I was learning Kubernetes on my own. And it was just pod deployment service, and ingress was also not that much, because there were very less ingress controllers. In 2016, I think there was Nginx, there was FI ingress controller, and FI was, of course, it was not fully open source, because you need to have big IP or FI load balancer. So till then, Nginx was only popular load balancer or popular ingress controller, and I was just playing around with Kubernetes pods, deployment, service, and ingress. And I joined another product-based company called F5. Okay, so F5 I joined in 2016. Sorry, F5 joined in 2017, and what I joined in F5 was as Python developer, and my experience with these DevOps tools. Okay, so it was DevOps plus Python role, but uh, the team that recruited me was a pure DevOps team. Okay, and they were doing a lot of DevOps stuff plus very minimalistic Python stuff. So they want somebody who has experience with DevOps and Python. So this is when, once I went into FI. So for 6 months I was doing only this. I was doing Python, I was doing DevOps, and there I learned about Terraform. There I learned about, yeah, I think I just learned about Terraform for the first 6 months. And Kubernetes, I became very strong, because for 6 months I was just continuously doing my own projects on Kubernetes, and I was just waiting for real time opportunity on Kubernetes. Okay, and I was also waiting for real time opportunity on AWS or Azure Cloud, but I was not getting any of these opportunities. So what I did was, for continuous 1 year, I did a freelancing on AWS. So I did not know AWS. I initially started quoting very less price for AWS. So if you want to understand how did I get that open source opportunity, so there are multiple applications. Like if you just go to your Play Store and search for freelancer, or just search for freelance, then you will get a lot of applications on App Store or Play Store. So what you need to do is just download those applications, and this freelancing, basically people who require the projects, they put a bid. And if you want to say that I want to do this, then you can tender it, or you can just give a quote. So keep it as low as possible, because if you are starting with it, this I just started saying that I'll do AWS project for $4 for 1 hour, and that was like very very cheap. And so from there I got one opportunity on AWS, because my goal was not to earn money, my goal was to learn AWS. So for 1 year, then that project for $4 I just did for 1 month. But after that, then I started earning good from the freelancing opportunities in 2017, 2018. Uh, close to some 40-50K, right? And so I continued that for 1 year. So I did AWS freelancing, and that is how I learned AWS. So this is very important for everybody to understand, that if you don't have opportunity, don't think that you don't have opportunity. Like, you can learn the things, and then there is lot of things, like just keep your LinkedIn, GitHub, all the profiles updated, and people will reach you. So 2017, 2018, these were not popular, right? People were applying through Naukri, people were doing different things. But right now, if you want to do freelancing, it is very, very easy, right? So that is how I learned about AWS. Then, I was getting again comfortable, so I thought, okay, I want to move to some other project. Then in FI, me and one more colleague of my team, so we started looking into projects that were, in the parking lot. So in organizations or product based companies, what usually happen is that, so sometimes someone starts a project, it goes through the incubation, and because of lack of resources, those projects are kept in the parking lot. So in FI, there was a project called Kubernetes Ingress Controller, and that was kept in the parking lot, and it was like, the only the basic design was done, and there were no customers, nobody was using it. So we thought that, okay, this is a very good opportunity, because I was learning Kubernetes. I did a lot of projects on Kubernetes. Now I want to do something on Kubernetes, and there is a project in the parking lot. So approached my manager and said my manager that, okay, this will be additional project for you. Why can't we take it? So manager also approved it, and we said that, okay, this is so amazing. So we started learning it, and the toughest thing was that entire thing. So most of the Kubernetes controllers, right, they are in Go language. And I had experience with Java, I have experience with Python, but I don't know Go language. But I don't want to tell my manager that, just because I don't know Go language, I'm not doing this, because I was very interested in Kubernetes. So I said, I learn Go language, just give me 1 month. And I, in fact, told that I have little knowledge on Go language, but I did not have any knowledge on Go language. So I started learning Go language, and after 1 month, we took that project. And by the time I left FI, I think there were more than 50 customers. And it was not customers, but they were very engaging customers. So we have redesigned the product. We have done a lot of open source content. It is an open source project. I can share the link in the description as well. It's the popular Kubernetes controller even today. So commercial, not open source, completely open source. So the code is open source. The repository is in GitHub. You can see the code. You can understand how the Kubernetes controllers are written. But to use the project, what you need to do is you have to have a FI ingress controller, right? But FI ingress controller is not a free tool. So code is open source, entire thing. There were a lot of open source contributions as well. But if you want to use that product, you have to use the FI ingress controller. So kind of it is mix of open source plus commercial product, right? So this is again 2018, 2019, and yeah, it was going very good. We had 50 plus customers and engaging customers, and the product was quite popular on OpenShift and Kubernetes. So OpenShift was an addition because there were many customers who were using FI load balancer on OpenShift. So then we got free OpenShift licenses. I played around with OpenShift, and I became very, very comfortable with Kubernetes, and kind of not just comfortable, but because I was learning Kubernetes from 2016-17 and till 2019, I did a lot of projects on Kubernetes, open source contributions to FI, and deploying this Kubernetes controller, writing a Kubernetes controller. So in and out of Kubernetes, I was very comfortable, and I learned a lot of Kubernetes. So then, now my profile has become very strong. So I have Go language, I have Python, I have DevOps, I have Kubernetes, I've done AWS freelancing for 1 year. I have experience with IBM Cloud. So all of these, when I tried to put in a profile, I felt that, okay, I have a very strong profile. And then I started looking into my dream companies, because till now I was not I did not have a strong profile. But when I realized that, okay, my profile has become very strong, so I thought I'll move to my dream companies. And I had a list of dream companies, and I was only applying for them. And Red Hat was on top of all of them, because Red Hat is king of open source, right? So if you talk about open source, the first company that comes to mind is Red Hat. So they are everywhere, right? The footprint of Red Hat is everywhere, right from Kubernetes. So if you look at the top Kubernetes contributors, who has contributed Ingress to Kubernetes, that's Red Hat. Who has contributed to Ansible a lot, that is Red Hat. Who has contributed a lot to Linux, that is Red Hat. So Red Hat is one of my dream companies. And luckily I applied. I did not apply actually. It came through the HR on my LinkedIn, and I did not don't want to lose that opportunity. So I prepared hard for it, and yeah, I got into Red Hat, obviously, because I'm still with Red Hat. So yeah, that's how I got into Red Hat, and I joined as a Go developer because from 2017 to 2019, I was only writing Kubernetes controllers, and Kubernetes controllers are written in Go language, and I have very good experience with Go language, multi-threading, and all of the things. So I applied as a Go developer, and the project that I started working on is Argo CD. So Argo CD, I think everybody is quite aware of it. It's a popular GitOps tool. So Red Hat was doing contributions to Argo CD open source, and they had a team called GitOps. So I started with that GitOps team. I'm still with the GitOps team, of course, and that's how I started learning GitOps, understanding how Argo CD works, uh, more experience with GitOps, then a lot of things. So till now, I'm with Red Hat doing Go language, Argo CD. So because Argo CD is a DevOps tool, so a lot of DevOps customers are using this tool, and every day in day out, I interact with DevOps customers. I deal with people who are in the field of DevOps. So, and of course, because of my past experience with freelancing and previous companies with DevOps, so I gained a lot of knowledge on DevOps. And this is where you can ask me like, okay, all of these things is fine. Then how did you learn about Azure? So Azure, I purely like, when Azure 2020, when Azure started, not started, I mean, when Azure started to gain the attention. So I thought, okay, what is this Azure again? Because it was gaining a lot of attention, and I had my experience with AWS, very good experience with AWS, in fact. So what I did was I started learning about Azure, create a free account. I try to just replicate everything in AWS into Azure because I in fact, at that point of time, I knew about 50 to 60 services on AWS. So what I did was I used to compare, like, okay, in Azure, there is VPC. So how does that work in AWS, there is VPC. How does that work in Azure? In AWS, there is IAM, authentication model, right? So how does that work in Azure? What is service principal in Azure? So I used to do the same project, the freelancing projects that I used to do. So personally, I just did the same project on Azure. So that's how I gained, equal knowledge, or I don't say equal knowledge because AWS I did literally practical for 1.5 year and freelancing, and then every day I play around with AWS. So Azure, I was just replicating the same things and understanding. So I gained practical experience on Azure as well. So this is how I built the entire profile, and this is how I learned the tools in DevOps. So as you keep doing it, the other things will fall into place, right? So because you are a good developer, because you are writing Kubernetes, so you learn about admission controllers, you learn about metric server, you learn about monitoring. So every day, when you keep doing it, when you keep interacting with the customers, or when you are doing freelancing opportunities, so things like these little things will keep adding to your profile, and whenever there is an opportunity, you have to steal the opportunity, and you have to get better day by day. So yeah, so this is my experience on how did I learn about DevOps. And if you found something interesting, put that in the comment section. And if you are inspired, yeah, I'll definitely recommend you to start with your open source contributions, start with your freelancing contributions. Both of them are very easy today. So if you want to do open source contribution, it's very easy. In the field of DevOps, just go to CNCF, Cloud Native Compute Foundation page, Computing Foundation page. You will see bunch of projects there, and all of those projects are either incubated or graduated into CNCF, and they're all Go-based applications. So this is how you can start your Go-based open source. And if you want Python or Go projects, then you can put that in the comment section. I'll also explain you. For example, you can contribute to Boto 3. That is a very popular Python based project, right? So similarly, if you want anything, you can put that in the comment section. I can help you with both freelancing. I cannot assure you because it depends on what you are marketing on the freelancing portal, or what do you want to, how much do you want to bid, and all of these things. So just the applications, go to the Play Store or these things and download. But if you want about open source, yeah, I can definitely help. If you want to start with Java, which project you can start. If you want with Python, which project you can start. So these things I can help with. So thank you so much for watching the video. I hope this video is insightful. And even if one or two people benefit out of this video, start their open source or freelancing journey, I'll be more than happy. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.